Hello students, welcome back. In this class we are starting with a new chapter, that is 8th chapter, Cell, the unit of life. So this is a 10 hours chapter, and from this chapter you can get 8 marks in your annual examination. So out of all the chapters in your biology syllabus, this is the 10 hours chapter and 8 marks carrying chapter. So major chapter, we can say that it is one of the major chapter in your biology syllabus. And this chapter is very important, not only for your biology, it is very important for your life also. Because when we study the detailed aspects in this chapter, you will come to know why it is very important for your life. So this is very important. See, the name says cell, the unit of life, or we will say it is the basic unit of life. And I will say cell, this chapter, it is the basic unit of biology. So in your entire biology chapters, this chapter, it is the basic chapter. Without knowing this chapter, you cannot understand anything in any chapter. So this is very important. If you completely understand this chapter, you can understand the remaining chapters also. That's why I told you it is the basic chapter in your biology. And this chapter, you should remember this chapter throughout your life, and you will definitely remember this chapter in your entire life. Now we will see the introduction part for this chapter, cell. So in this class we are talking about only the introduction part. Yeah, already you know that in the previous class, while explaining about the previous chapter, I told you the earth formation. So during the evolution, the earth formation takes place around 4.5 million years ago, isn't it? So the earth formation takes place around 4.5 million years ago. Later, the first life originated on the earth is about 3.5 million years ago. So it is the earth formation. About 4.5 million years ago, the earth formation takes place, and later 3.5 million years ago, the first life originated on the earth. So this is very important. Here they said that, so the first life originated on the earth about 3.5 million years ago, but how one can identify it as life or living? I mean to say, on what basis it is identified as living, or what makes an organism as living. So you will think that if the organism is respiring, or you will say it is moving, likewise you will say many of the aspects, but all those are secondary. So primarily, in order to get the answer for the question, so the question I asked is, what makes the organism living? For this question, you should have the knowledge about the structural and functional unit of life, that is cell. So this term is very important. We will always say the structural and functional unit of life. Unit of life, that is cell. So cell, it is the structural and functional unit of life, because life exists only in the form of cells. That is called cellular organization. You have studied the unique properties of living organisms. In that, the first one foremost property is that cellular organization. So you already studied the cellular organization. It is one of the unique property of all living organisms. That is what I am saying. Life exists only in the form of cells. So that is a cellular organization of all living organisms. If you see the organism is living, then it should contain cells. Or we will say, if the organism contains a cell, then it can be considered as living. If the organism having cells, you can say that it is living. That's why life exists only in the form of cells. Without cell, there is no life. You should remember this. Without without cell, there is no life at all. And the body of living organism. Yeah, all living organisms are made up of cells. But here, the body of the living organisms, they are either made up of single cell. If they are made up of single cell, we will call it as a unicellular condition. And they may be made up of many number of cells. That is multicellular. Yeah, the body of living organisms either may be made up of a single cell, that is unicellular, or may be made up of a multicellular, many number of cells. But all the functional activities of an organism, it is completely dependent on the structure and function of cells. Whatever the functional activities we are doing, actually it is completely dependent upon the structure and function of cells. We have different types of cells, they will be performing different types of functions, that all you will be able to understand later. So try to remember the functional activities of the organism, it is completely dependent upon the structure and function of the cells. That's why the cell, it is the basic unit of life or structural and functional unit of life. So it can be called as structural and functional unit of life, or it is the basic unit of life. It is the basic unit of life. And you may be heard about cytology. Yeah, what is cytology? Simply you will say that cytology, it is the study of cells. But what exactly we are going to study about cells? Here, cytology, it is the study of form, structure and components of cells. So what exactly we are going to study about the cells? We will study the form, there is a variety or different types. Their structure, how the cell looks like, its structure, and whatever the components which are present in the cell, everything we will going to discuss. So that is called as cytology. So cytology can be defined as the study of form, structure and components of cells is called as cytology. Then one more branch is called as cell biology. Cell biology. So cell biology can be simply defined as the branch of biology which deals with the structural and functional unit of the structure and functions of cells is called as cell biology. So cell biology, it is the branch of biology which deals with the structure and functions of cells is called as cell biology. And cell biology can be defined in another way also. So it can be defined like this: the branch of biology which deals with various aspects of structure, function, chemistry, development and genetics of cells is called as cell biology. So we can define cell biology in two ways, but the simple definition is enough. So what is the cell biology? It is the branch of biology which deals with the structure and function of cells is called as cell biology. Then cytology, it is the study of form, structure and components of cells is called as cytology. So next we will see cell as a basic unit. Why cell is considered as a basic unit? That is important. So cell as a basic unit. Why this cell is considered as the basic unit of life? As I said, all living organisms are made up of cells and life exists only in the form of cells. That's why cell is a basic unit of all living organisms, and no living organism can have life without being cellular. Without cellular organization, that is not considered as living. If you want to consider the organism as living, it should have the basic called as a cell. And you know, all life, it begins as a single cell. All life, it begins as a single cell. Even our life is also started from the single cell. Not only our life, all living organisms, whatever the living organisms which are present on the earth, all living organisms, they started their life as a single cell. How it is a single cell? When we study the life cycle of any living organism, in that life cycle, you will come to know the zygote stage. So this zygote is always diploid. The ploidy level is diploid, but the zygote is always a single cell. So in the life cycle of all organisms, we will come to know the zygote stage, and this zygote, it is a single cell zygote which is capable of producing a new organism. That's why, so this zygote is a single cell. From this single cell, the new life will be arising. We also started our life from the single cell. Then a number of living organisms are made up of single cell, and they are called as unicellular. A number of living organisms are made up of a single cell, and they are called as unicellular. You can give examples: amoeba, bacteria, chlamydomonas, bacteria, etc. So these are the unicellular organisms. Here the entire organism is made up of only a single cell. And here the properties are very important. The single cell, in these organisms, the single cell is capable of independent existence. Yeah, that a single cell is capable of independent existence, which means this single cell, it is not dependent on any other organism or any other cell. But in our body, as we are multicellular organisms, we are made up of many number of cells, and some cells may be dependent upon other cells. But in these single cell organisms, in these unicellular organisms, that a single cell is capable of independent existence, and it will perform all the functional activities of the organism. So it will perform all the functional activities. It may respire, it may be moving, everything. So whatever the functional activities an organism can do, so that single cell can perform all the functional activities. So in our body, different cells are meant for different functions. But in this condition, here the single cell can perform all the functional activities of the life. So that is very important. In unicellular organism, the single cell is capable of independent existence, and it will perform all the functional activities of the life. Then anything less than a complete cell, it can neither lead a independent existence and nor it will perform all the functional activities of the life. I am saying anything less than a complete cell. When we say in this unicellular organism, so whatever the components which are there in the cell, so all those components are very important. If any components are lacking, so at that time it is not a complete cell, and if anything is less than that complete cell, it will never have the independent existence and it cannot perform all the functional activities of the life. So in this organism, the cell should be complete with all the components. Then when we come to multicellular organisms, so multicellular organisms, multicellular organisms are made up of many number of cells. And examples, higher plants, higher animals, so all are examples for multicellular organisms. So here we are talking about multicellular organisms. Yeah, they are made up of many number animals, and in these higher plants and higher animals, the number of cells ranges to up to billions together. The number of cells may be billions together. For example, a newborn baby, a newly born human infant. So this newly born human infant, it contains about 2 into 10 to the power of 12 cells. Try to find out the exact number. So this is the range of cells in a newly born human infant. A newborn baby is having about 2 into 10 to the power of 12 cells, and this number increases to 100 trillions. So this number, a newborn baby having these many number of cells, and this number will be increasing up to 100 trillions of cells in an average 60 kg human. So in a 60 kg human, the number of cells may be about 100 trillions. And out of this 100 trillions, 25% of them are present in blood. You know, in blood we have different types of cells like red blood cells, white blood cells. Actually they are called as corpuscles. Yeah, we will come to know why they are called as corpuscles, everything. So red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, platelets, there are different types of cells we will be studying. And so this 100 trillions of cells, out of this 100 trillions, 25% of them are present in blood, and a single drop of blood, it contains several billions of cells. A single drop of blood, it contains several millions of cells. And another interesting thing, see, the large sized animals or large sized organisms, they do not contain large sized cells. See, for example, the elephant, it is very large, and you cannot think that in elephant there are bigger cells or there are larger cells. And ant is very small, so it contains a small, very small cells. You never think like that, and you cannot think like that. The large sized organisms, they never contain large sized cells. Instead, they contain many number of cells. So the size of the organism, it is dependent upon the number of cells. If the organism having more number of cells, it is quite bigger. If the organism is made up of very less number of cells, it is quite smaller. And never think that the large sized organism having large sized cells. You cannot think like that. Instead, the large sized organism contains many number of cells. And in multicellular organisms, as we are talking about multicellular organisms, so in multicellular organisms, the cells are the building blocks of the organism. Building blocks, you know, while constructing the house, how the bricks will be arranged one on the other. So how the bricks are arranged, likewise in multicellular organism, the cells are arranged likewise. That's why in these multicellular organisms, cells are the building blocks of the organism, and even they are the structural and functional unit of life, and they are specialized to perform specific function. See, in these multicellular organisms, we have different types of cells like blood cells, bone cells, fat cells, erythrocytes, leukocytes, etc. There are many number of cells. There are about 200 different types of cells are there in our body, and these will be specialized to perform specific function. The bone cells will perform specific function, the blood cells will perform specific function. So in these multicellular organisms, the different types of cells are specialized to perform specific functions. And here in these multicellular organisms, as I said, there are different types of cells. These cells are grouped into tissues, and tissues grouped into organs. Then organs to organ system. Then organ system leads to an organism. So here we have started the life from this cell, and from this cell an organism can be obtained. See, for example, as I said, there are different types of cells, and cells are grouped into tissues. You got the definition for cells. What is cell? It is the basic unit of life or structural and functional unit of life. Then what is a tissue? It is the group of cells having same origin and perform similar function. So whatever the cells which are these group of cells will perform a similar function, that is called tissue, and group of tissues performing similar function is called as organs. Then organs are grouped into organ system. Then different organ systems together it will form the organism. Let us take an example. See, examples I will take cells. I will take blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, etc. And those cells are grouped into a tissue. So actually these blood cells are grouped into a connective tissue. Here I am taking blood cells, and these blood cells are grouped into a tissue which is called as connective tissue. It is actually fluid connective tissue. You will study this fluid connective tissue everything in the 7th chapter. So it is a connective tissue. Then this connective tissue, the group of tissues, later they will perform a similar function. Here we can take the organ. It is a heart. So the connective tissue along with the cardiac tissue, everything is present in the heart, and the organ system which is related to heart is a circulatory system or conducting system, and likewise there are different types of organ systems. As I said, circulatory system, there is a respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system. Likewise, all these systems together they will form the organism. So this is how an organism can be obtained from the single cell. And the occurrence of different types of cells, different types of tissues, organs and organ system, it will result in the division of labor. Division of labor, it is nothing but performing different types of functions by the specialized tissues or specialized cells likewise. So specific cell, it will perform specific function. Likewise, this occurrence of different types of cells, tissues, organs, they are meant for division of labor. The specific function will be performed by the specific tissue or specific cell. Likewise, so it is meant for division of labor. Then life passes from one generation to the another generation only in the form of cells. See, we all produce it from our parents. So, from our parents, the life has been transferred to us only in the form of cells. So, how it will be transferred, everything we will be studying later. So, life, it will be transferred from one generation to another generation only in the form of cell. That's why cell is the basic unit of life, and it is the structural and functional unit of life. And cell, it is the smallest unit capable of independent existence and can perform all the functional activities of the organism. See, cell, why it is cell? It is the smallest unit. See, we are the macroscopic organisms, even we contain cells, and the microscopic organisms like bacteria, fungi, etc. They are also made up of cells. So that cell, it is the smallest unit capable of independent existence, and it can perform all the functional activities of the organism. So this is about the introduction for the chapter cell. And should remember certain important points. Whenever we ask what is a cell, we will definitely say that it is the basic unit of life, and it is the structural and functional unit of life. That is very important. And how from cells tissues will be obtained, and group of tissues leads to organ, organ to organ system, and organ system to organism. Everything we can discuss later in detail. So this is about the introduction for the chapter. So remaining class, we will study about the discovery of the cell. Thank you.